Good evening. My name is Sarah Westhead. I'm a certified Google trainer, and I'm here this evening to show you how to create a digital escape room using Google Forms. Our learning intention, of course, is just that, to create a digital escape room using Google Forms, and our success criteria are the steps it takes to create that escape room. So number one, plan your questions out. Number two, do the form settings. Number three, set up your questions. Number four, add section and repeat steps. So that would be repeating step number three as many times as necessary. Number five, creating a celebration page. Number six, trying it out. Seven, sharing the link with students. And then number eight, assessment results. So first of all, what is an escape room? According to Wikipedia, it's a game in which a team of players cooperatively discover clues, solve puzzles, and accomplish tasks in one or more rooms in order to progress and accomplish a specific goal in a limited amount of time. Well, how does that translate to the digital forum? It can do that entirely digitally, where the entire room is on the computer or on a technologically based device, or it can be a combination of physical activities while the answers are then entered into a digital device in order to get the next activity or clue. Now, when it comes to the classroom, digital escape rooms can be a great way to assess your students. The benefits, well, frankly, anytime you introduce games in the classroom, you're going to promote student engagement. Number two, it helps promote problem solving and critical thinking skills. Students are on the clock. They have to think fast and quick and to get their way around it. And if your questions are creative enough, you can go with some really, really top level, high level thinking skills. Time management skills. Students have to figure out how to get through all of the rooms, all of the questions in a set amount of time. Escape rooms can be done individually, so each student escapes on their own, or it can be a team building activity when it's done in groups and you have small groups of students working together. And then lastly, it can connect learning to real life. So in step number one, you are going to begin planning your escape room. We're not going to go into making any actual questions today because that depends on your age group, your content, your subject, all of those things. But the things that you need to consider when creating your questions is number one, what skills do you want to assess? And how many skills do you want to assess? Do you want to have students show their ability to apply their skills in just one way, in one skill, but in lots of different ways, or multiple skills? So you can take that into consideration. Then you also have to think about how much time you have and how much time you want to give students per question. So if you only have students for a set amount of time, say 45 minutes, you might want to think about how easy or how hard the questions are. How long is it going to take your students to get through each question? Because the goal is that the students will all escape, hopefully at the end of the room, or be so close to it when the bell rings, or we're coming up to the end of the time limit, that they don't feel completely defeated if only one group managed to escape and everybody else is still stuck in. And then lastly, you want to see if you can connect the skills and questions in your escape room to a story or theme. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Sometimes your subject naturally contributes to that. But if you add that that story or that theme to your escape room, it's going to make it even more engaging for your students. So the next step is to set up the Google form. So once you have your Google form set up, you go open it up, create a new form. The very first thing is you're going to want to make sure that you add a title, image, color scheme, etc. So I already have my image here. I've uploaded it from my computer. But if you weren't sure about doing that, you're going to select the little art symbol here. That's the customized theme. If you hover over it, you can see that and click on it and it'll pop open and you see your theme options. You can select an image from what is already built in. There's lots of choices in here, or you can upload from your computer or even select something from your Google Drive if you have anything there. What is really cool about Google Forms is that it will match the color scheme to your image. So I'm going to change this image real quick so you can see that. So we've got a choice of blues here because this is a very blue picture. If I were to go with something a little different, so let's get something, these candies here, I'm going to insert it. And my color schemes, the theme colors that are available to me completely change. But I'm going to go back and we're going to go add our image. Unfortunately, you do have, if you're going to add your own image, it does need to be on your computer. So I'm just going to click on Browse and let's get back to that folder. There we go. I've got Star Wars, my Star Wars image. And you're going to notice that my image is too big. This open box will show you what space you have. So you can just, it'll pull the picture up and then you can place it where you want it to show up, how much of the image you want to show. Of course, if you make your own, this was a Facebook cover I downloaded to use. If you want to make your own, you can do that. And I give you a link to a video that you can watch to show you how to make your own at the end of the session. So we're going to click done. Takes a second because it's thinking about it. How good your internet is on a particular day will also vary depending on, there we go, our colors changed. So you see my colors have changed again. I'm going to go with that dark blue for the edging and the really pale blue. You can also change your font style, basic, decorative, formal, and playful. I, to be honest, recommend that you use basic or formal. They're much easier to read for your students. Decorative gets very tiring to try and read. Playful, yes, it's a printed type, hand-printed type font, but again, I think basic is the easiest to read, so we're going to leave it at that. And I'm going to close this box. Next thing we want to do is check our settings for the form itself. If you see a little gearbox here, hover over it, you'll see the word settings appear. I'm going to click it open. To be honest, make sure that everything is turned off. If you really want to, you can set this to collect email addresses. I don't bother because usually my students aren't thinking about that so much. I also make sure I do not include require sign-in. As much as limit to one response is tempting, if you turn that on, students will have to log in. And if you are logging in from a Department of Education, for example, Bermuda Department of Education, creating your form from that account, that's going to even limit even more. So only people with Department of Education emails can log in. So it's best to just leave it empty. Again, the presentation, we want to leave that all empty and make sure this is not turned on as a quiz. So you just want to make sure those are all turned off. The only one that you have the option for really is to collect email addresses if you really want to. So those are all off, and I'm going to set that as save. I'm going to give this a title. Right now it just says digital escape room, but we're going to change this to a Star Wars escape room because that's my theme for this little escape room here. And I'm going to, in the form description, I'm going to add a little note, and I'm going to put this in each page, in each question, in each room, just as a reminder. And we'll come back to it again later, but we want to tell the students to put in their answers in all caps. If you do that instruction, it makes it a lot easier. There's no question. Is it the first letter? Is it all? Because otherwise kids they might think, oh, I know I've got the right answer. Why won't it accept it? That is why. So we're going to write, please answer all questions using all caps. And I put all caps in all caps because it just sets the example so the students know what to expect. And then I'm going to add my first question, and simply we've got this toolbar that moves up and down the side of the slide Google form presentation as we're working. So it's a little circle with a plus, and we're going to add our first question. And this is a super basic one. We want to make sure that this is not multiple choice. We may make it a paragraph. And this is where, especially if you are doing teams, you would say, please type the name of your team members, not your team name, team members. You want so that you know who was involved in that team. You don't have to think, oh, I forgot who was in there. If it's individual competition, then have the students write their first and last name. So we're going to write, please type the correct names or the proper names of all the members of your team. All right, just so that students know that we want the proper names, not anybody's nicknames. And we are going to make sure that this is set as a required button. At the bottom, you'll see required. There's a toggle on and off. When it's gray, it's off. When it's blue, it's on, and we're going to leave it at that. Now we're going to get started creating our first room. Now, before we create our first room, we need to create the room, and we do that by creating a section. So there is, again, our toolbar. At the very bottom is the double bar. It looks kind of like an open equal sign. Hover over it. It says add section, excuse me. We're going to click on that, and basically that's creating a new page within our escape room. So that brings us to step number 3, setting up our first question. Well, we want to we'll give the section a title. In this case, we are working on our foreign language, our intergalactic foreign language. So this is Ewokese. You're going to learn how to speak Ewokese in this section. Again, we're going to repeat our instruction. Please answer all questions using all caps. And again, we keep the all caps there. Then we need to add the information. If you are adding a video, you can do a video there. You can add an image there. Whatever the clue is that you want for your students. If it is a link to another website or to a Google slide, we'll talk about that in a second. But we're going to start off with our video. Mine is a video link. So I'm going to click add video. And you'll see I can do a search right in YouTube here. If it's a video that's not on YouTube, I can type in the URL here. If you know the link to the video, you can just paste it in there. So I've got this open right here. How to Speak Ewokese is the video. And you notice I'm not going to use the URL as it's typed up in the Omnibar. I am going to select the share button underneath the video. This window will pop up. I've got a link there. I'm going to copy that there. It just works a little bit better. Sometimes if you use the URL in the top, it might be longer. It might be a little bit more confusing. So in this case, I've got my link. I'm going to paste it into the YouTube bar. I'm going to search for it, and that's the video I definitely wanted. I'm going to select it and then hit the blue select button. And there it will pop up. And let's give the video a title, How to Speak Ewokese. And that video is looking awfully small to me. So I'm going to single click on the video, and you'll see the 4 little blue squares in each corner. If I drag those open, I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller if I want. So I've made it nice and big. Now I'm going to click on the workspace behind it, and you'll see this circle with the 3 dots. Some people call that a snowman, has appeared on top of it. If I click on that, I can then change the alignment. So I'm going to make that a center alignment, so it's right in the middle. And now we are ready to ask our question. So again, add a question button. Nice and easy. So we're going to put that in there. Now this is the most important part. So we type in our question. All right, I obviously have dabbled a little bit in Iwakis, if you can't tell. So I know my question, I've got it typed out. I've just copied it and pasted it. So translate this into English, Ichoyalu. We want to make sure this is set as short answer. And we're going to make the question required. Now is the next most important part. You don't want the student to just be able to enter an answer and move on to the next question. You want to make sure that they can't move on to the next question until they get this question right. So we have that little snowman that's appeared in the bottom corner next to the required button. So we're going to click on that and then click on response validation. And you're going to see some more information has popped up. I strongly recommend that you always keep this as text. Although if it is entirely numbers, then that's fine. But if it's a combination of numbers and text, it must say text. We're going to leave this bar at contains, and you see you can include other things here. So contains, and then we're going to put in the answer. Make sure that you put it in all caps. If that's the instruction you've given, make sure it's in all caps with no punctuation. Now, what happens when your student types in the wrong answer? Well, we need to give them a custom error text. So we could do something as simple like, sorry, try again, or let's keep it a little more Star Wars-y. You've lost this battle, young Padawan. Try again. So there we go. We have our question. Now, if you have lots of questions, the next step would be to go and add another section. Before I carry on, I just want to let you know, if you do, you can add videos, you can add GIFs, although sometimes they don't work quite right. If you are linking to a website or a Google slide or some other activity that is on another website, you can simply type in and paste the hyperlink right in the question section. Although you want to use a shortened URL, maybe use a bit.ly, put the website URL through bit.ly to shorten it. That would make things a little easier. So just some notes about the questions. But the next thing is to create our room. So we go on and create another section. And if we were creating another room, we do another set of sections, and we'd repeat this as many times as we have questions for. Again, remembering to make sure that we think about how many questions there are, how long is it going to take our students to answer them, and how much time do they have altogether in the class period. But we are not going to create another question. We're just going to leave it with the one question to keep it nice and simple for us tonight. And so the next thing we want to do is create a celebration page, because you got to let your students know that they've gotten out, they've escaped from the room. So our last section will be our celebration page. And we want to give that a title, some sort of congratulations. So let's go with congratulations. You've defeated the Empire. Okay. So we have our title, and now I'm going to add another video. So I'm adding a video here, and we can just search for this one. I know exactly which one we want. We want Star Wars Medal Ceremony. I'm going to search for it. It takes a second. Oh, look, there we go. The final scene, the throne room scene, leads into the end title of the original Star Wars, what is now known as Star Wars #4, A New Hope. So I'm going to select on it. That's where Han and Luke get their medals and Chewie gets left out. So we're going to select it and select again. And there we have our video. So again, I want to make this nice and big. So I'm single click on it, stretch it out, make it bigger. And then I am going to center it because I like things to be aligned neatly. All right, and then I'm going to add a little note, untitled video. Instead of a video title, we're going to give this a comment. The force is definitely strong with you. Oh, and we need to make sure force is capitalized, because if you are a Star Wars person, you really need to know, you should know that force is always capitalized. So there we go. We have created our digital escape room. Super, super simple, but we are not done yet. The next step is to make sure it works. So you need to test that game out, make sure it works. If there's anything that you've made a mistake, you've made a typo, etc. So I'm going to scroll right back down to the right back up to the top. And at the very top, you're going to see we have our tools. We had our little palette. We have the gears for the settings, but in the middle is the eyeball. And if you hover over that, you'll see that is the preview button. What does that do? If you click on the preview button, it's going to pop open the actual Google form in a new tab so that you can review it. And what you're going to do is you are going to go through it just as if you were a student. So type the proper names of members in your team. Well, it's just me today. So it's Sarah and my dog and Wicket. So Wicket is here. Yes, my dog is named after an Ewok. So we're going to click next, and you're going to see it's going to let me go through. Here we go. So now we're into room number 1. I start watching the video. And you're going to notice this video is a little long. This is a 6-minute video. You probably don't want a video that's quite that long for your students, but this is just an example. So we're going to get through it. We're going to pause it right there because, of course, I know the answer. So translate this into English. Now I'm going to put in the wrong answer, or I'm going to put in the right answer, but without all caps so that you can see the error message that pops up. So let's go, hey, beautiful. Even if it's a typo, if they spell it wrong, it will still not go through. So I'm going to hit next, and I've lost this battle. Young Padawan, try again. So that means I have to re-enter my answer. I enter it in, click next, and yay, I made it through. Congratulations, the force is strong with me. So I can watch the video, and then I submit, and my answers are done. So what next? If I go back to the original form where I was creating the form, I will see that there is now a response right there. So you can see that there. Now, the question is, how are you going to share this with your students on game day? Well, there's a couple of different ways. The first thing is go to the send button. Now you could email it to everybody and but you know, students are not going to open their emails all at the same time. Best thing is go to the little chain link here, click on that. Make sure you shorten the URL. You can see that's a really long URL. No student was going to want to type that in. Shorten the URL right there, copy it, and then you can paste that up on the board, you know, on a slide. So it's up on the board. The students can type it in and get going. Or you can forward it to students depending on the kind of devices you have. But there is yet another trick. So Google just came out very, very recently that you can now add a QR code right from Google Chrome. So I am going to go back to the preview. I'm going to do a brand new preview. So we're reopening that in a new window because remember we answered the other one, so it was at the end of it. Now there are 2 ways that you can get the QR code. The first thing is you go on the page, you're going to right click and you will see create QR code for this page. Now, yes, I'm working on a Mac. This works on a PC too, so I've been told. So you simply create a QR code for this page and there it pops up on the screen. You can show it to your students. Students can scan it with their phone or their tablet and then get started right away. So there is that option as well. But also in the Omnibar, you know, where the URL is for the page, you will see that there is a new little button there. It is a square with 4 little squares inside it. You hover over it, you see it says create QR code for this page, you click on it and boom, it pops right open. Makes sharing this game so, so easy with your students. So let's pop that closed real quick. Now, last but not least, you need to go through the post-game results. What have your students done? Now, it's a little different with a digital escape room because the goal is that the students get the correct answer. It may take them a lot of times to get through it, but you want them to be getting the right answers. And unfortunately, at this point, if you're just using the basic digital form, you can't see if a group only got to section, question room number 3 or question number 4. Because they have to have completed it to enter it. So there is that limit. But I did want to make sure that I showed you how to check responses. So again, we have the question tab here, and next to it we have responses. Now, if you were in a regular Google form and you had multiple choice, you would be seeing all kinds of beautiful, brightly colored tables with the answers and who got how many right and who gave what answer, et cetera, based on the summary. You can see the answer from the questions, and then you can see the individual page. But if it's a regular Google form, all you need to do is you can export this data to a Google Sheet, is you literally click on this little green button right here, and it will create all the data in a Google Sheet for you. Now, I've done this before, so it's coming up with it's coming up to the same one as I did before. If you haven't created one before, it will ask you, do you want it to go to a specific table? Do you want to create a brand new table? And it will save that spreadsheet in the same folder where you are storing your escape room with your Google form. I also wanted to show you real quick, say maybe you have tested it out and you want to delete your answers from the results, or you had a student who managed to do it twice and you need to delete one out, because they thought they were there or having trouble or whatever. So simply go to the individual, find the question, and obviously we only have one of one right now. So you find the student, what number they are, if they are 2 out of 12, so go to number 2. And to delete that individual response, you simply go to that page and hit the delete button. It's as simple as that. So you're going to see, or up at the top, it said responses 1. I'm going to delete the response. It takes a second, and there are now no responses there. All righty then, so we are just about done. I wanted to give you some tools for you to create your own. Not only can you create your own, but if you're in need of help, ditch that textbook. They have compiled a list of more than 40 free digital escape rooms, some created by them, some created by other teachers around the world. So you can go onto their Wakelet and find all of those. It's taking a minute to load it. So they've got theirs there. Teachers Pay Teachers has a bunch of them on their website now that you can purchase, also made by teachers. There is a little mini tutorial on creating a digital escape room, but of course you're watching the big long one, so I guess you don't really need that one today. I am also giving you links to 3 other resources. The first is how to create a custom header for your Google form. So rather than relying on an image, and is it going to fit? Is it not going to fit? So this video is going to teach you how to make your own. The center video incorporates the Bitmoji. Everybody loves the Bitmoji classrooms and stuff like that. So in combination with using Google Chrome and Google Slides or Google Drawings, you can install an extension on Google Chrome for Bitmoji, and you can create your Bitmoji version of yourself to it. And last but not least, this is a more advanced escape room. So if you really want to make it look like an escape room, you can use a combination of Google Slides, Google Forms, and a number of other programs to make a real escape room and connect the Google form to the locked door. So they have to go to the, and they have to find the clues in the room. It's really, really cool, but that is for another level. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll talk soon. If you want, here is a link to today's workshop. I will leave that up for a moment. That means that you can, if you go to this URL at the top, you can get your own copy of this spread Google's Google Slides presentation. Excuse me, it's been a long day, so that you can have these instructions step by step for yourself. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.